So what exactly is the GLEP program? Well, it's early entry. It's not based on your ATAR. In my case, I got in way before I even finished the HSC. It's actually based on leadership and service activities, as well as your Year 11 results. So you might be wondering, why should you apply? Well, in my case, I applied because I knew it would give me peace of mind before I even finished my HSC. It made it a lot easier to focus on my studies and not be stressed about the mark that I would get. It also gave me the opportunity to participate in GLP, just like Caroline just touched on, which was a great opportunity, and I could start it from the moment I got into Macquarie. Now, it also allowed me to become a bit more familiar with not only the campus, but other students. So when I started, I had an orientation session. It was all GLEP students. It allowed me to meet some new friends. Two of my closest friends now I met in my first orientation session, and it also gives you an opportunity to get a scholarship. Now, we've just changed the information for our scholarships. We're not just giving out 2 $5,000 scholarships anymore. We now have 5 on offer for our best applications. Now, eligibility. There's some criteria to be eligible to apply. The first is that you need to be doing the high school certificate. So the HSC, the ACT Senior Secondary Certificate, or the IB in 2018. So you need to be a current Year 12 student. We also encourage you to apply if you're interested in world events, the challenges that face our world, and how you can make an impact to the overall picture. And then also things like demonstrating leadership qualities, contributing to your community, or making a positive change in your school, your community, or in your wider world. And then additionally, we want students who are achieving consistently good results, mainly in Year 11, but it's always great if you can keep them up in Year 12. Now, the actual application process itself, it happens through an online portal, which you can access simply by searching GLEP MQ. Now, for your application, the first thing you're going to have to do is to download, complete, and sign our mandatory supporting information form. Now, I can't stress this enough. There is only one submission of this form. So just take your time, make sure you get all the information you want in there, and polish it up to perfection before you submit. Now, once you submit, you get to select your preferences, and we give you the opportunity to select up to 5 preferences per offer round. And it's just like UAC, so you can update these preferences between rounds. Now, on the right there, you can see that it's got the application little page with apply now. That's the first step. Once you apply and have that application in, we will generate an application number and a PIN for you, which we'll send to you via email. And from there, you'll be able to log back in to change your preferences between rounds. In terms of email address, it's probably better to use your personal one so that you can always access the information that comes from us. Now, we're going to move on to the supporting information form and exactly what it looks like. So part 1 is about as simple as it gets. It's just your name, your date of birth, gender, and then you move on into the parent and guardian details if you're under 18 years of age. Now, part 3, you're getting your principal or a nominee to provide their details and an endorsement of you. So this could be your careers advisor, it could be your school principal, a year advisor or coordinator, or a head teacher or a faculty which you're a big part of. Now, a really important thing to consider when you get them to sign and endorse is how long is it going to take them. A principal, for example, is super busy, so it's probably a good idea to give them a bit of warning that you're going to need this signed. So maybe not the day of. What I did when I was submitting mine is I wanted to submit in the very, very first offer round. But what I actually did was I told my principal, gave them all the information, they did the endorsement, they just took a little while to get back to me, and so then I could submit. So it's always good to be an early bird and just mention it to them as soon as possible. The next page is what really matters. So this is that key information. This is those activities in leadership or community service which give evidence to us that you're already starting to become a global leader. So we've got 4 questions and you will answer these for 3 different activities. Question 1, the name of the activity and organisation and a brief description of that activity. So to give you an example of what I did in my application, I was part of my SRC at high school. So I gave a brief explanation of what the SRC did and exactly what the activity in this example was. So in my case, it was a fundraising activity. Now, if we move on to question 2, we look at outlining the tasks that you undertook. So for example, in my situation, it was my job to stand up in front of assembly, notify everyone that it was happening, and also do public announcements that we're doing this fundraising, as well as organising when exactly we were going to do that fundraising. So in our case, it was a school social, and it was also at the side of the road raising money on our final weeks of year 12. Now, for question 3, you want to describe the outcome of your involvement for you as an individual, others, and the community. So this is a maximum of 100 words. So you just want to basically put in this area exactly what the outcome was. So whether that be how much money you raised, or how many people you helped, or what difference that made in your school, community, or for yourself. And then lastly, question 4, how much time did you commit to this task? So we're trying to get you guys to show that you've made a significant time commitment over a sustained period of time, whether that be weeks or months or even years in some case. That is a strong indicator that you can dedicate yourself to a task and get really involved in something that's for the better picture, bigger picture, and the better good. Now, what I did when I was putting in my submission, I had a similar webinar thing like this. So there was a few questions which I could take note of before I started my application. And whenever I had a moment, I would just jot down some of the key activities I've done. So question 1, did you complete the activity during year 11 or 12? Just make sure that it meets that criteria. And then you look at, did it benefit others in the community? So you might think about how it benefited more than just yourself and whether or not that was recognized. Then you also want to show that your activity demonstrated service or leadership. Importantly, we're also looking for things like initiative. We really want students who not only were part of an organization or had a certain role, but really made a difference as part of that. Then you want to show that you had passion for these activities. So were you really involved? Did you give up a lot of time for it? And then did it involve a high level of achievement? This doesn't just mean academic. This just means that your outcome was as you pictured it, and it led to an overall benefit to that community. Now, one of the great things to put in your applications is how you went above and beyond. So it's not enough to just be part of the SRC or just be a captain of a school. It's more about the things you did in that role. So did you stay back after school? Did you volunteer? Did you give a little bit extra of your time that wasn't really expected of you, but shows that you're a good-natured and well-rounded student to begin with? And then the last one is just make sure that it's an active, regular, and sustained contribution. So you want to show that you've done this for a while and you're always eagerly participating. So now we're going to move into the reflection. So question 1 touches on what skills and qualities have you developed as a result of participating in these activities. So some examples of things you could include in here are skills of initiative, communication skills, time management. You might have developed qualities that make you just a better communicator or a better leader on a small scale. And then you want to reflect on this. So in question 2, you want to select one of your examples, and basically you're picking the one which you believe reflects your greatest achievement. So you describe why you've made this choice. So for example, when I filled in my submission, I picked that the biggest skill I learned was leadership, because I'd been in the SRC for a while, but when I became a leader of the SRC, I was slowly learning that it takes more than just being there. You've got to go above and beyond and involve yourself and show passion. So that's the example I used in my application. But you never know. The skill you find might be initiative or time management or one of the other ones I listed. Now, these questions here are really great to consider for that reflection section. So a really good first point is to see if you learn anything from it. Did you learn about yourself, about what you can achieve? Did you maybe exceed other people's expectations of you? They're all really good things to consider before you begin that reflection. Now, also, how are you going to use that learning in the future? Whether that be still in your last few months of year 12 or even beyond, such as when you get to high school and you could be doing something like the GLP. Now, you also want to think, how did you feel about your participation in the activity? Did you feel great? Did you feel like it made you want to keep doing this stuff for the rest of your life and continue to do volunteering and humanitarian activities? Because you never know, you could have already found your passion, and that can lead to plenty of career roles in the future. Now, it's good to consider what was the challenging aspect and how you overcame it. And this can often lead you into the next section of how it positively affected individuals in your community or society. Because if you've done something a little bit difficult, maybe it took extra time, extra effort, or you had to go outside of your comfort zone, chances are it's probably worthwhile and it's helped other people. So at the end of the day, it was worth you going to that extra effort. And above and beyond, include specific examples. So talk about what really happened for you, a specific example of what you did. Sure, it might not be exactly the same as what all your peers felt, but that's what we're looking for, your unique experience and how your leadership and service capabilities really shine through in your application. Now, we're going to move on to the actual courses. So there's 89 courses, and the ones that you can't get into via the GLEP early entry are the Bachelor of Actuarial Studies and its double degrees. For example, Bachelor of Actuarial Studies with Applied Finance. You also can't get into the Bachelor of Professional Practice and its double degrees because it is another selective course. Now, the last one is the Bachelor of Clinical Science, which is one of our pre-med pathways. So it's important to note that if you're looking to go into these degrees, you might consider alternative entry pathways, and you're more than welcome to contact Macquarie Uni for more information on them. Now, the courses are split into 3 groups. We split them up based on the academic aptitude of the programs. Group A courses are the highest academic aptitude. They're followed by Group B and followed again by Group C. Now, that can be a bit confusing. So to clear things up, I'm going to give you some examples of each type. So I'm going to start from the top with just 2 or 3 examples of what a Group A course might look like. So an example would be the Bachelor of Law or the Bachelor of Business Leadership and Commerce, which is actually what I study, or maybe the Bachelor of Advanced Science. So there's some examples of those Group A courses. Now, if I look at Group B, this would be things such as the Bachelor of Arts Psychology or the Bachelor of Archaeology, the Bachelor of Engineering and all its different streams, or the Bachelor of Global Business. And then in our C group, is things like our Bachelor of Arts, our Bachelor of Science, and our Bachelor of Commerce. Now, we recommend that you choose the course that is the best academic fit for you. And one of my top tips for when you're putting in your preferences is to select a variety. So don't just stick with Group A's. It's also a good idea to have Group B's or even 1 or 2 Group C's as a safety net. But that's obviously up to you, and you can use your own judgment to pick the courses which you feel are right for you. Keep in mind that the offer rounds come Thursday 21st of June, Thursday 19th of July, Thursday 23rd of August, and Thursday 20th of September. Now, it's important to note that it's similar to UAC, that we have a closing date for your preferences. So you apply by Monday the 11th of June, and until the 11th of June, you can rearrange those preferences. Then, if you receive an offer on Thursday the 21st of June, fantastic, congratulations. We're more than happy to have you, and we can't wait to see you at Macquarie. But if you don't get an offer, don't stress too much. You can rearrange those preferences. You might want to add maybe an extra category B or an extra category C just to increase your chances of receiving an offer, and then wait for the next offer round. If, however, you received your offer in the first round and maybe a week or 2 later you changed your mind and you decided you want to study something different, you can rearrange your preferences and hopefully receive an offer for that new option. Now, remember that the offer will be made to your highest eligible preference, and you will receive 1 offer per round. And obviously down the bottom, you can check your application email or log in at mq.uac.edu.au/mq-GLEP. So we're going to go through some questions now. And feel free to begin posting the questions if you have any that might have popped up. Okay, so we have our first one from Nicholas, and he's asking, is he able to receive a recording of this session? So at the start of the recording, I mentioned that we're going to be uploading this to our website next week, so that if you have any family members or friends, or even if you just want a copy of it for your own reference, it'll be available online to have a flick through. Now, we also have a question from Kate. Are there any types of activities that you think might be better than others? E.g., if you do it with your school or through another organisation. Now, no activity is better than others. It's more about what was your involvement in that activity. So, Kate, I would probably recommend that you pick the 3 tasks or 3 activities which you had the most involvement in, and the ones where you probably had the biggest overall outcome. So don't just pick the traditional ones, pick the ones that really, really involve you. So it could be volunteering, or it could be an initiative that you led within your school or community. They'd be the perfect ones to pick. It's sort of up to you at the end of the day. Okay, so can you put in multiple applications? Unfortunately not. You just get 1 submission. So a little bit of advice for when you're putting in your submission, make sure that you maybe take some notes before you start and you're ready to enter. Don't worry, you can edit it as you're typing it up. It's just once you have submitted it, you just get 1 shot. A really, really important thing to remember is make sure that when you're uploading documents, they're high quality and they're easily viewed. So nothing blurry, and make sure you upload the right stuff. So what I did when I was uploading my documents is I cleared stuff from the desktop and I just made sure that I had only the forms I was attaching on the desktop. And that way I didn't get a school assignment attached by accident or a movie I'd just been watching. Now you'll submit your applications. Pardon me, we do have another question from Bronson who's asking, where do we submit our applications? So you'll submit your application through the online portal, which is earlier on in the slides, and it's all online. You will be able to download the supporting document form. You'll then fill it in, sign it, and then you'll re-upload it through that same window. Okay, so I have a question from Andrew, and this is an excellent question. I'm really glad someone asked this. The question is, what if you start the GLP but decide partway through it's not what you thought and therefore want to leave the program? You have 2 options here. So Andrew, you could either unenroll from the GLP and you'd go and visit someone like Caroline and you would unenroll. You can also do this online, and that way there'll be no pressure. You'll usually be unenrolled from their Facebook groups and you won't get pestering little emails reminding you of all the great events you could have been doing, because we know that's just not for you anymore. An alternative, and this is what some of my mates at uni have done, is you can just leave it idle. And if you don't participate in the GLP and don't make those 200 points, there'll be no penalties. It just won't show up in your transcript. And don't worry, it's not going to show up with something saying GLP not completed. What it will actually say is just nothing. It won't mention the GLP. So you really can just begin the GLP, and if you find it's not for you, you can just stop whenever you like. Oh, okay, so I have a question from anonymous attendee. So their question is there someone I can talk to directly if you need more advice? Most certainly. It's actually what I do for work on Thursdays and Fridays. I sit upstairs and I'm there ready to answer things on live chat, email, and on the phone. A really good email to contact us on is futurestudents, all one word, lowercase, @mq.edu.au, or you can also call us at 9850-6767. Okay, so I've got a question from Jessie, who's asking, do the GLEP offers include double degrees? Now, they do, but there are some exceptions, and they were the ones listed at the beginning. And you can double check that by going back through the slides. Oh, okay, so I've got a question from Ryan. And this is a really good question because I happen to be the perfect person to answer it. His question is, can you go further into detail about the interview process involved with the business, leadership and commerce degree? Thanks so much, this has been very useful. Well, thank you, Ryan, I'm glad it's been useful, but I will touch on how the interview process works. So business, leadership and commerce is a little bit different to your other GLEP applications. The reason it's different is you have to upload a resume or a CV, and it's really a good opportunity to polish this up because once you're at uni, you never know when you might need it. If you're applying for a job, scholarships, or an exchange, something like that, it's a helpful document to have ready. Now, if they like your resume enough, they will give you an offer to have an interview. In your interview, it's a pretty informal setting. In my instance, it was just two academic staff, one lady who runs the course, and another teacher who was from marketing, which is one of my majors and is a field I'm interested in. I sat across from them and I discussed the leadership things I'd done. It was pretty similar to just reading out my GLEP application. I talked about the activities I've done, how I overcame difficulties, and what sort of skills I learned from that. Some things I also included, and this is totally up to you, and many of my classmates have done it differently, is I brought along with me a portfolio of some examples of the things I've done and maybe some select awards I've received to give evidence of the activities I had done and the recognition I received. I also asked some of my teachers to provide me with a projection, so like an expected ATAR or an expected mark I would receive in those classes. This isn't 100% necessary, but it's something I wanted to bring along to give peace of mind for myself and to make sure I was fully prepared for any questions they might throw. But at the end of the day, don't be too worried. If you're a good candidate, they'll love you, and you've just got to be mature and approach it as if they're just people like you, and it'll go really well. Okay, so we have a question from Alana. So the question is, do you get your principal or teacher to physically sign the application form and then scan it back onto the computer to register online, or can they sign it digitally? It's really up to you. My printer at home wasn't great, so I was a bit worried that if I scanned it back in, it would look a bit messy. So what I actually did is I got my principal to sign it digitally, and he was more than happy to. It actually ended up working a little bit better because I ran into him in the playground and I mentioned it to him, and he said, oh, hey, can you email that to me later? And I did so, and he just signed it with a digital receipt. And make sure your application stays high quality and is easy to read when you submit it. Okay, so we have another question from an anonymous attendee. And their question is, can I still apply through normal UAC even if I have a GLEP offer? Yes, you most certainly can. You can apply exactly how you would usually do for UAC. And one of the benefits is once you have that offer from GLEP, it's unconditional. So it means it can be your first choice. It could be a backup plan, but no matter what, it's going to be there, and it will always be there despite what choices you make in UAC. So at the end, when you're ready to pick what degree you're going to enroll in, you will be able to accept and enroll in your GLEP offer. Or if you found something different through UAC, you can also take that option. Oh, we've got a great question. So this question is, what careers can I pursue from being in GLP? Well, I'm going to start by saying anything you want. By being in GLP, you prepare yourself to be an excellent candidate for any role you might apply for. It shows that you're a well-rounded citizen, and it means that you're willing to give up a little bit of your time to help others. Some particularly relevant degrees, however, are things like law, international relations, international business, also in arts, because these are the areas which most often work with humanitarian efforts, and you can really find a lot of work in these fields. You could be a diplomat, you could be working in foreign affairs, you could be working in, who knows, law. And one of the best things about doing law in the GLP is that we have a social justice clinic where you actually get to do humanitarian work for refugees, homeless people, disadvantaged groups, and this can tie really closely to the things you learn in GLP. So there's way more information about that online, but there's lots of exciting career opportunities. You're not at all limited. Okay, so we have a question from Melissa, who has asked, are there any additional documents that are required for the application, such as awards or achievements? No, there aren't. You just need to fill in the application and then submit that. If, however, you are going to the interview for business leadership and commerce, you may like to bring supporting documents if that's what you feel is necessary. Now, we have a question from Nithya. What sort of activities do GLEP students participate in? There's a massive range. I'm going to go from the bottom up. So you start, GLP students can be participating in things like the colloquiums, which Caroline touched on. So workshops, talks, lectures, getting a bit more information like that. Additionally, they can go to GLEP-specific events, like we have a GLEP ball where they talk all about some of our big ideas and the new challenges that society is facing. And we often have a keynote speaker attend these events, which is really, really entertaining. And then you can do things like exchanges or interstate trips. So they go to Canberra, to the Australian government. They go to South America. Some groups go to China. Every year they're coming up with new events. Now, one of my friends actually works for GLP. So her job is to post all the exciting new prospective activities you could be doing in Sydney or around Australia. And so there's a Facebook page for all GLEP students, and she uploads information on news of activities that have just come out or are just beginning. And if you want to get involved, all the information is right there. So anything from working with disadvantaged groups, to working with kids, to working with social justice or social change. There's lots of variety. You just have to pick what catches your fancy. Now, there's a question from Tina asking if there's a closing date. Yes, Tina, there is. So the closing date for all applications is the 27th of August. Now, we would always recommend you apply sooner rather than later, because the earlier you apply, the earlier you can get an offer. And trust me, getting in the earlier offers takes so much pressure off. Okay, I now have another question from an anonymous attendee, and I'm going to assume we have more than one of these. So the question was, does it make a difference whether it's your principal or your year advisor or head teacher who signs off and endorses you? It really makes no difference. You just pick someone that you trust and someone that you think really knows you as a person, and I'm sure they will recommend you for the program. Now, Felicity has given a question that we're all thinking, which is, if you are unsuccessful in the first offer round, do you receive an email informing you that you are unsuccessful? Yes, Felicity, you sure do. So we'll send out an email notifying you that you're unsuccessful, and that way you can alter your preferences to maybe add a few more of those categories C or B to increase your chances next time. Okay, so we've got a question from Heather, who's asked, can you use a sporting activity you've been involved in, such as umpiring? Now, Heather, that's a really good example. It's always better if you use examples of community service or leadership. So if, for example, you showed examples of leadership, being an umpire, or perhaps you were a volunteer umpire, that would be better. But it's always best to choose the examples which most closely match the values of volunteering and giving up your time to benefit others and the greater community. Now we've got a question from an anonymous attendee asking, can you get a scholarship as well as GLP? You most certainly can. So GLP has, GLEP has 5 specific scholarships, each worth $5,000, which you can get. Now, in addition to GLEP, you can get other scholarships within the university. And it's important that you guys check out the Scholarship Navigator on our website to see all the different options of scholarships that you could apply for. Trust me, I wasn't going to apply for a scholarship and I ended up with one. And I didn't expect it at all, but as my mom said, just give it a go and apply. Okay, so I've got a question from Kaylin, which says, what if you get an offer and you accept that offer, but change your preferences for what you want to do much later? Now, if you accept your offer, that's not actually locking you in just yet. You're not locked in until you enroll at Macquarie University. And even then, you can still withdraw from units if you change your mind. Accepting just gives you peace of mind. So you will still have the opportunity to receive other offers in later rounds if you change your preferences. So for example, if you get into the Bachelor of Laws in your very first offer round, then you find that 2 weeks later, you've just changed your mind and realize you'd much rather do archaeology. If that's the case and you've already accepted that law offer, well, what you can do is you can change your preferences, hopefully receive an offer for archaeology, and then accept that one. Now, if you accept the archaeology offer, you'll be able to enroll in it, and then the law offer will lapse. Although it doesn't hurt, you can always call us up if you want peace of mind and to cancel that offer into laws. Now, we have a question from another anonymous attendee, which is, once you have a GLEP offer, can you take a gap year? Most certainly. So you can defer that offer for 1 year. If it's later than 1 year, you'll need to reapply. But taking a gap year is really, really relevant to GLEP. It provides you with some of the skills and some of the networks to then go on and involve yourself in more activities and volunteering when you're actually at uni. And we often see that GLP students are really successful, whether they take a gap year or not. Okay, guys, so it looks like that's all we've got time for, but you're all very lucky because myself and some of my colleagues will be answering these questions later on and tomorrow, just to make sure you get the information you need. Just a reminder, if you do need more information from Macquarie, you can contact us at futurestudents@mq.edu.au or call us on 9850 6767. All right, bye everyone.